My beloved child, something has shifted in silence, and the moment you read these words, you will feel the weight of what is unfolding. A powerful eye has turned toward your life, not out of anger, but out of deep curiosity and alarm. The movement of money, the quiet arrival of a check, and the astonishing number written on it have triggered attention beyond what you imagined. This is not an ordinary deposit. This is not a figure that disappears into shadows. The amount is so high, so unusual, that a bank executive himself has been tasked to personally investigate the matter. They are not sending ordinary staff, they are not handling this as a routine file, they are sending someone with authority, with rank, with the power to decide the fate of your future finances. The silence that carried this check into your account is now surrounded by whispers and questions. Yet, beyond the whispers lies something even bigger. A truth about where this check came from, and why it found its way into your life. You may think it's just a deposit, but in reality, it is a sign, a message disguised as money. Right now, the executive's eyes are on the transaction. They are reading the signature, checking the source, scanning every number as though it holds the blueprint of your destiny. And while they investigate, heaven is already aware. Heaven knows that this money has meaning far greater than numbers, far deeper than wealth. Type Amen to get blessing 333. The executive is unsettled, because the origin of this check does not match what they expected. The system is showing strange patterns, and every time they dig deeper, the mystery thickens. Your account is standing at the center of a storm, and yet, you are being protected by a shield that no one in that bank can see. Archangel Michael says, the reason this is happening is not to harm you, but to awaken you to the truth of how heaven has chosen to provide for you. The check that landed in your account is not ordinary, it was divinely placed, written in heaven before it was ever written on earth. And because it carries divine ink, earthly systems cannot ignore it. The executive is torn. On one side, they are bound by duty to investigate, but on the other, they feel an unusual pull toward your case. Something in their spirit tells them that this is not fraud, not manipulation, not chance. They feel a weight of destiny hovering over your name. Yet, they cannot stop themselves. They open more files, run deeper checks, and every layer reveals something more unusual. No trace of wrongdoing, no sign of corruption, instead, all signs point toward blessing. They cannot explain it, but the system refuses to reject your check. Type Amen to get blessing 444. The check itself has a story. The one who sent it did not send it lightly, they sent it under pressure, under divine compulsion, under a whisper from heaven they could not resist. They were told, in ways they may never admit, that this money was not theirs to keep. It belonged to you, and only to you. The bank executive is baffled because every time they expect a red flag, they find a golden thread. They thought they would catch a fraud, but instead, they are catching glimpses of a miracle. Every number in the check, every figure in the ledger, seems to align with something greater, as though it was pre-written in the stars. Archangel Michael says, this investigation is a cover for revelation. What is being looked at as suspicion will be transformed into confirmation. The check is not just money, it is a key to unlocking your next chapter, a chapter written by God Himself. Still, the process continues. The executive meets with their team, whispers to their seniors, and everyone wants to know the same thing. Why you, why now, why this amount? Yet no one dares to touch the core of the matter, because deep down, even they sense this is divine territory. Type Amen to get blessing 555. The check carries numbers that are not random. It has digits that echo like prophecy, like signs meant to be noticed. The executive stares at the check late at night, long after office hours, unable to shake the thought that there is something supernatural about it. They pick up the phone, they call sources, they run background checks. Still, nothing makes sense. No explanation fits the case. It is as though the money was meant to arrive, and no earthly force can reverse it. Heaven is smiling, because while the executive works to find reasons, the true reason lies in destiny. You have reached a time when abundance can no longer be hidden from you. The money is not simply yours, it is part of a greater promise, one that has been waiting for this exact moment. The check is proof that delays are over. For years, you have waited, wondered, cried, struggled. Now, this deposit stands as a witness that everything is shifting. The investigation may look serious, but the truth is, this is heaven's confirmation of your breakthrough. Type Amen to get blessing 666. My beloved child, the tension grows with each passing moment. The executive sits in a closed office, your file lying open on their polished desk. Papers are scattered, screens are glowing, and your name is highlighted in bold letters as though destiny itself is calling it out. They lean closer, reading every line with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. The check is not ordinary, its numbers do not whisper like small change, they roar like thunder across their mind. This is the kind of amount that cannot be ignored, the kind that commands attention and demands explanation. Even as they question, something deeper pulls them. It feels as though the check is watching them back, daring them to understand its purpose. And as they stare at it longer, their heartbeat quickens, their hands grow restless, and an unseen force whispers, "This money carries more than wealth, it carries destiny." The executive cannot explain the unease. It's not fear, not anxiety, but a strange sense that something bigger than banking is unfolding. They are supposed to investigate, but instead, they feel like they are being investigated by something divine. Type Amen to get blessing 777. The whispers inside the bank grow louder. Other executives glance at the file, lower their voices, and murmur that this case is unlike any they've seen. No fraud alerts, no red flags, no signs of manipulation, just a mysterious check sitting in your account like a crown waiting to be claimed. Archangel Michael says, "This is not an ordinary investigation, it is a divine spotlight." Where the world sees suspicion, heaven sees recognition. You have been chosen to be noticed, to be lifted, to be carried from scarcity into overflow. The executive digs deeper, tracing the sender's history. They expect loopholes, they expect scandals, but instead, they find order and precision. Every document checks out, every trail leads back to legitimacy, and still, the money feels supernatural. They close their eyes for a moment, frustrated, yet humbled. They cannot fight the truth, this check has a power beyond logic. They cannot stop it, cannot erase it, cannot undo what heaven has sealed. Type Amen to get blessing 888. Behind the scenes, more layers begin to unfold. The executive is summoned into a private room, where senior officers wait. They ask pointed questions, but the answers always lead to the same conclusion: nothing about this transaction is wrong, but everything about it is extraordinary. Your account is now under divine surveillance. Not because of danger, but because heaven has marked you with abundance. You are under observation not for punishment, but for proof that miracles cannot be hidden. The check is no longer seen as just paper. To the eyes that study it, it now feels alive, pulsing with an invisible energy. The numbers shine brighter, the ink appears heavier, and the truth becomes undeniable: this is not the work of man alone. The executive begins to question themselves. Are they investigating you, or are they being guided to witness a miracle in real time? Their training tells them one thing, but their spirit whispers another. Type Amen to get blessing 999. The check story refuses to stay silent. It begins to echo into their nights, showing up in dreams, replaying in their mind like a haunting melody. They wake up in the middle of the night, still thinking about your name, still seeing the numbers written across that check. They start noticing signs around them, random numbers aligning, conversations about destiny, moments that remind them of your case. The investigation has now turned into an awakening, not just for you, but for them as well. Archangel Michael says, what was meant to look like scrutiny is turning into revelation. This is the moment when heaven interrupts earthly systems, when a financial document becomes a prophetic letter. You are being shown that nothing can block what has been signed in heaven. The bank's systems are advanced, but they are not above divine will. Every test they run passes, every suspicion collapses, every doubt fades. Your check stands untouched, unchallenged, unmovable. Type Amen to get blessing 111. My beloved child, the air inside that office grows heavier. Every breath the executive takes feels thick with tension, as though unseen eyes are watching. The check sits on the table, glowing in silence, while their instincts whisper that this is no ordinary case. They pull out confidential files, flipping through pages with trembling fingers. Numbers, signatures, dates, all fall into place perfectly, yet their heart tells them something greater is happening. This is not coincidence. This is divine orchestration unfolding in plain sight. The check, with its staggering amount, has already unsettled the balance of their ordinary routines. The executive finds themselves unable to look away, as though destiny itself has placed a spotlight on your account. What was supposed to be a mechanical investigation now feels like a spiritual revelation. Even their superiors sense it. They lean in closer, their voices hushed, asking the same question: where did this money come from? And though the system provides answers, none of them explain the force behind its arrival. Type Amen to get blessing 222. The executive begins to notice patterns that cannot be denied. The digits of the check form sacred alignments, numbers that mirror prophecies they do not understand. Every time they add or subtract, the totals point toward significance, as though coded messages are hidden inside the figures. Archangel Michael says, heaven is not trying to hide your blessing, heaven is ensuring it is revealed in front of the right witnesses. That is why the bank executive, a person trained to doubt and verify, has been chosen to study your miracle. Their role is not to block it, but to testify to it. Your name becomes a subject in private conversations, whispered in conference rooms, mentioned in closed meetings. Not because you did anything wrong, but because heaven has forced the world to notice your breakthrough. This is how divine elevation looks: sudden, unexplainable, undeniable. The executive feels a strange pull toward your destiny. They know they must remain objective, yet they feel a connection they cannot shake. Something in their spirit recognizes that your case is not about money, it is about timing, it is about calling, it is about a door that has just swung open for you. Type Amen to get blessing 333. As days pass, the investigation deepens, yet the mystery only grows. They visit branches, cross-check accounts, and interview staff. Still, everything leads to the same conclusion: nothing is fraudulent, everything is legitimate, yet the power surrounding your check is beyond comprehension. The silence of the check speaks louder than words. It tells of years you endured hardship, of tears that soaked into your pillow, of prayers whispered in the dark. Now, all of that suffering is being answered in the language of abundance. The executive feels it too. They find themselves unable to treat your case like others. They carry it differently, with a weight in their chest, as though guarding something holy. At night, when they leave the bank, the thought of you follows them like a shadow. Archangel Michael says, "What is happening is not random. This is heaven's way of declaring that you are seen, that you are valued, that the season of lack has ended." The check is not money alone, it is heaven's stamp of approval. Type Amen to get blessing 444. The system now recognizes you differently. Algorithms that were built to detect fraud instead highlight your account as extraordinary. Not in danger, but in favor. You have shifted categories, from ordinary to marked, from unnoticed to divinely celebrated. The executive prepares a final report, but their words feel inadequate. How can they explain a blessing in earthly language? How can they describe a check that feels alive with purpose? Their sentences tremble as they type, because they know they are documenting something far greater than finance. Colleagues gather in silence, staring at the report, their eyes wide with disbelief. No one dares to dismiss it. No one dares to cancel it. Because even they sense that this is not to be tampered with. The check, once just paper, has now become prophecy. And the prophecy is clear: your time has come. Type Amen to get blessing 555. My beloved child, the investigation has now reached its final stage. The executive sits alone, the blinds drawn, the silence of the room pressing down on them like a heavy weight. The check rests in front of them, still carrying the same mysterious energy that has haunted their days and stolen their nights. They open your file once more, scanning through every transaction, every number, every line of data. Everything matches, everything is valid, yet nothing feels ordinary. The check continues to shine in their mind like a light that refuses to dim, as though heaven itself is speaking through the ink. What began as suspicion has turned into fascination, and fascination has transformed into reverence. The executive no longer feels like an investigator, they feel like a witness to something divine. They lean back in their chair, overwhelmed, realizing that this case is unlike any they have ever seen before. The room grows colder, the air heavier, and for a brief moment, they sense a presence beyond themselves. A voice within whispers that this check is not just money, it is a promise, sealed and delivered to you because your time has come. Type Amen to get blessing 666. The executive prepares their final notes, but the words come slowly. Each line feels inadequate, each explanation incomplete. How do you explain destiny in financial language? How do you justify a miracle with numbers and codes? They pause, their pen trembling in hand, and admit to themselves that this check defies the limits of human understanding. It has arrived not by mistake, not by manipulation, but by divine command. This is not a deposit, this is a declaration. Archangel Michael says, "Heaven chose the bank as a stage and the executive as an audience, so the world could see how unstoppable your blessing is." The check was meant to pass through human systems so no one could ever doubt its reality. Now the executive must sign off. Their signature will close the case, but their heart knows the story is just beginning for you. What they call closure is actually the opening of a door so wide that nothing will ever be the same again. Type Amen to get blessing 777. Outside the office, whispers spread. Staff members glance at you differently, not with suspicion, but with awe. Your account has been marked in their systems, not as a problem, but as a wonder. They will remember your name long after the paperwork is filed away. The check has shifted energy in places you cannot yet see. It has positioned you in the eyes of authority, lifted you in the systems of power, and declared you chosen in spaces where decisions are made. This is what it means to be elevated, to be seen where you were once hidden. Your blessing has not only filled your account, it has rewritten your identity in the eyes of the world. You are no longer ordinary, no longer overlooked. You are recognized, acknowledged, stamped with divine approval. And though the bank thinks the story is over, heaven smiles, because this is just the beginning of your overflow. The check is only the first wave of what is coming. Greater sums, greater opportunities, greater abundance are already on their way. Type Amen to get blessing 888. The executive leaves their office late, the streets outside quiet and dimly lit. Yet even as they step away from the building, they cannot shake your name from their mind. They know they were part of something extraordinary, something they will never forget. At home, they lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every detail. The numbers, the documents, the signature, all of it burns in their memory. For reasons they cannot explain, they feel honored to have touched your case, as though fate had allowed them to witness a miracle firsthand. Archangel Michael says, when heaven blesses you, it does so publicly. No power on earth can hide it, no system can deny it, no person can erase it. The check was your announcement, and now the world has heard it. You are stepping into a future where abundance follows you, where your name is carried with favor, where doors open before you without resistance. This is the reality of being chosen, the destiny of one marked for greatness. Type Amen to get blessing 999. The report is filed, the case is closed, but the echo of it lives on. You will feel the ripple of this moment in the days ahead, as opportunities multiply and wealth flows in directions you never expected. This is the proof that your season of struggle has ended, and your season of overflow has begun. The check was more than money, it was heaven's signature on your life. The investigation was more than scrutiny, it was proof that even under watchful eyes, your blessing could not be stopped. Now, walk forward with confidence, my beloved child. For what has been written in heaven cannot be erased by man. Your breakthrough has been delivered, your abundance is secured, and your future is overflowing with divine wealth. Type Amen to get blessing 111.